The Pokemon TCG is built around a very simple gameplay loop. Put Pokemon into play, power them up, knock out your opponent's Pokemon, and take prize cards to win the game. But not every deck abides by this. Every format will have decks that are purely made to be annoying and frustrating to play against. Decks that contain cards designed to make the game harder for the opponent. Sure, a few decks can make use of a couple staple annoyances like Path to the Peak, Spiritomb and TMD Evolution, but I'm talking about decks that are built to not even follow that core gameplay loop. They intend to win without taking a single prize card, and instead simply stall and mill out your opponent until they run out of cards in their deck. We currently have a deck like this in the format with Snorlax Stall. The name says it all. You stall out the game with Snorlax. Thanks to its block ability, your opponent's Pokemon can't retreat, but they can still make use of switch cards and can still attack. However, the deck also plays a plethora of trainer and supporter cards to disrupt your opponent as well as recycle cards back into the deck, so you can keep using them and not mill yourself out before your opponent does. It has seen quite a lot of success, even winning a regional, but with Temporal Forces, we will be seeing a brand new stall/mill strategy, one that I feel is better than Snorlax due to its ability to end the game much quicker and make use of even more powerful disruptive cards. Plus, with certain cards, it has the ability to have a HP pool even higher than Snorlax. The main flagship of this deck being Great Tusk, a 140 HP basic fighting type Pokemon with 2 attacks. Its second attack, for 2 fighting and 2 colorless, can do 180 damage. A respectable number, given the deck can use Professor Sada's Vitality, since Great Tusk is an ancient Pokemon. Not to mention that you can use cards like Double Turbo Energy, which does have the downside of lowering your damage, but it counts as 2 colorless energy. However, that's not the reason why this card is so good. That comes from its first attack. For 2 colorless energy, so a single Double Turbo Energy, discard the top card of your opponent's deck. If you played an Ancient Supporter card this turn, discard 3 more cards from the top of their deck. This is where the card's strength lies. The ability to mill 4 cards from your opponent's deck for a single energy attachment. As long as you use an Ancient Supporter card that turn, in which there is currently only 2, Professor Sada's Vitality and Explorer's Foray, also coming in Temporal Forces. So maxing out on 4 copies of each is vital towards the strategy, and ensuring you mill as many cards as possible from your opponent's deck each turn. However, Great Tusk is very easy to knock out, and you can only play so many copies of each card. Plus, stuff like Double Turbo Energy is hard to recycle because it's a special energy, not a basic energy. By itself, the card isn't going to win games, but in combination with other disruptive and control cards, that's where the deck gets insane. Here are just a few examples of what the deck can utilise. Mimikyu to protect yourself from EX and V Pokemon while you set up, Pidgeot V so you can attach for a Sealstone and get any card you want from the deck. Plus, with its ability, you can shuffle it back into the deck, denying your opponent a 2 prize knockout. Counter Capture, since we will never be taking any prize cards, plus we can gust up a high retreat Pokemon. Prime Capture, for the same reason. Ancient Booster Energy Capsule and Heroic Cape to give our Great Tusk more HP, making it harder to knock out. Calamitous Wasteland to increase the retreat cost of your opponent's Pokemon. Crushing Hammer to remove energy from your opponent's Pokemon. Hand Clippers to force your opponent to discard cards. And the list just goes on and on. The main reason why I think this deck is better than Snorlax is because of the ability to mill up to 4 cards every turn. Snorlax plays supporter cards that did similar things such as Sydney and Misfortune Sisters, but with Great Tusk, you can make use of much more powerful disruptive cards during your turn by discarding energy, counter capture up a high retreat Pokemon, slap down Calamitous Wasteland to increase retreat cost, as long as it's not a fighting Pokemon, use Hand Clippers to force your opponent's hand size down to 5, then play an Ancient Supporter card, both of which help you set up with powering up backup Great Tusks and helping you dig through your deck, and then to end it all off, mill the top 4 cards of your opponent's deck for a single energy attachment. Not to mention that your opponent is going to have to go through their deck as well if they want to have any chance of winning. And against certain decks that like to power through their deck all within a couple of turns, the game will end that much sooner. Additionally, depending on what you milled, that could simply end the game right there, if it's an important card that your opponent needed, or a necessary piece in stopping you, especially if it was a supporter or item card, as there are very few cards in the game that can recover them from the discard. The deck is already seeing a lot of success in Japan and is definitely going to make itself known at high competitive tournaments once we receive Temporal Forces. The deck looks to be very consistent and very annoying. Even though it only plays a few basic Pokemon, that just makes things easier for you by giving your opponent a couple of mulligans to accelerate your mill strategy. You should definitely be on the lookout for this deck because just like Snorlax Stall, it could pop up when you least expect it, and if you don't have a good game plan or strategy to take it down, then it could just be game over.